think I did. We on mute.
Hello. Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. Are we live?
Are we live, Paul? Okay. Hey, everybody. We coming. We get it together.
Sorry, I guess the little layoff got us a little out of sync. We forgot how to do this, I guess.
I'm gonna blame it on the snow.
Well, good evening. Welcome to Can We Talk? I'm Real, and this is
Raw.
And this evening we're gonna start off our series on incarceration.
Achieving Greatness.
I'm sorry. Wow. I really am. Go ahead. I'm gonna let the talker talk. I tried to do it, but I'm not good at it.
Well, first and foremost, thank you all for joining us, and be a friend and tell a friend, and share the podcast. We are going to be doing a 5-week series with individuals as well as Real and myself, talking about how we achieve greatness after incarceration, which is kind of like a part 2 of the photo shoot. Y'all know I posted the photo shoot, with the business owners and career-minded individuals that have achieved greatness after incarceration. So this series will be based upon speaking with those, some of the individuals, and some didn't get to shoot, but they will be on the podcast. And it's just to share the story and just some insight on individuals that's facing challenges when it comes to trying to find a job or trying to find a place to stay. Because of their background, it's hard. And so we just want to share our story and the challenges that we went through as well, but we refuse to fold and resort back to the same bad behavior. And this is where we're at. So, we got Real and got Raw, and Happy New Year's, Happy 2022. This year we are going to be practicing quality over quantity when it comes to people, places, and things. Okay, so we are here, Real.
Yes, we are here. Like I said, tonight we're gonna start it off by sharing our personal experiences, good and bad. How do we come to this point where we can actually relate to the subject itself? So we'll start with my lovely wife here. We let the beauty go before the brains. So tell us what you want to share about. How did it begin? Where? Tell us from the beginning.
So
just to keep it short.
I will. I'm gonna keep it short
because I want to tell mine too.
I'm gonna let you tell yours. Anyways, so for me, I have had some challenges in my younger days, where I have, did some things I had no business doing, and I caught charges. I never went to prison, but I did go to the county jail and probation overall, I ended up with a misdemeanor or felony on my background, which made it hard for me to achieve some of the things that I wanted to achieve. Um, it was just challenging for me. And so when I would go for a job, I would have the credentials, I would have the certification, I would have my diploma, I have, everything that I needed as far as in the work skills. But when they ran my background, it was, we can't hire you because of, your background, which was a felony and then a misdemeanor. And so that was just challenging. But I had to learn, because before I would just fold and just like, I'm just not gonna go for that type of job anymore, or I'm gonna do this and do that. It's instead of going. Now I will say this: I didn't retain back to the streets of doing that type of behavior, but it done something to me as far as in every time I went to go apply for a position, I was just nervous, like on eggshells, because I'm tired of hearing no, 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 no. And then when you go home and you look at your kids and it's like, dag, but I kept my faith. And because I am who I am a pusher, and I'm going to go to the next street. And it's like, it might be no for you, but maybe this is just not the employment for me. And I kept hearing it over and over again. Then I would get jobs, but then the jobs that I would get, the pay wasn't good, or they didn't have benefits. It really wasn't mounted. Like there was no growth there. It was just a stepping stone. So, but it put food on the table, for me and my girls. And so I continue to strive and go to school and get more certifications and get more education. And then, one day I just like, maybe you're not supposed to be an employer. Maybe you're not supposed to be an employee. You're supposed to be an employer. So then, I channeled that piece in, and then I started working towards, my own business. And now, right to this day, I have two. I have a nonprofit, and then I have an LLC. And like they say, the trending is you need to have multiple streams of income. And now, it's not as bad as it used to be. But what I did learn was during my interview process and when I would do my applications, I started to put, I will explain in the interview.
Yes.
Versus and putting it on there and then the wrong person reading it and judging me off of what they're reading. So when I say I will explain in the interview, that gave the people a chance to feel me and have that human contact to say, basically she has the credentials, she has the personality, and I think she's fit for the job, and this is her only hiccup. I am going to give her a chance. And that's how I was able to finally get into some great companies and finally started to receive benefits and 401k and vacation time and stuff like that. And it worked for me. But the one thing that I didn't do was I didn't give up. I kept going. And you have your friends and you have your peoples to tell you ain't no sense in doing this. People just gonna tell you no. I heard all of that. I've had people placing things in my hand. This is what you need to do. I don't want to do it. This is why I'm in the situation. This is why I'm in the situation that I'm in now. Keep on trying to take so-called the easy way out. And is it really the easy way, or is it just the way that I want to do what I want to do? I want to work when I want to work, and I want to get up and do what I want to do, and I don't want anybody to tell me nothing.
It's more convenient,
right?
That's one of our downfalls, especially when we're younger, right? And the same thing we try to get our kids now to understand as they grow. Don't always go for what's convenient. You got to plan for the long haul. One of the biggest mistakes I probably made in my life, even outside of the whole incarceration, whatever, but even then, it took me a while to understand the importance of thinking long term, not just for the moment. So, but go ahead. But I'd imagine it was even harder for you because most of what you've done has been medical related. And I know a lot of times in the medical field, certain parts of the medical field is like a no-no for any type of uh, charges, whether misdemeanor or felony, depending on the charges. So
Yeah, and so it definitely was. Now in medical, they were kind of worried about a drug charge or assault and battery, right? Because you're dealing with medication, and then of course you're dealing with people. So if you have a assault and battery or malicious wounding or something like, it shows that you have a temper. It shows that you have no tolerance, right? And that you possibly can have anger issues.
I never thought of it like that. But okay.
So yeah, so I didn't have any of that, right? So that's what got me. And to be honest, to be honest, my charges that I ended up with, it was not so much I condoned the behavior, but I didn't really commit the crime.
Right.
Right. And so each time that it was a situation, it was me helping somebody out or giving somebody a ride or doing something, you know what I'm saying, for someone that I trusted was close with, and then it just didn't work out. Right. Then it's, well, who's it? Well, so I took responsibility. That's what we do. And that's the thing that's called the code. Right. But you know what I had to learn, and I'm gonna say this to any and everybody out there, you don't owe a code to nobody but your kids. Because let me tell you something. Both individuals that I took them charges for real, it was like I chose them over my kids. When you really look at it, I chose their freedom over my kids' livelihood. Because at the end of the day, yes, I condoned it and I participated in it. But again, like I said, for me, it was something that, I'm not saying. So my stuff has always been a conspiring, right? You conspire. You didn't commit it, but you knew about it and you was on board with it, right? But they never even caught the charge itself. You see what I'm saying? So, but it is what it is, you know what I'm saying? But now that I'm older and as I start to mature, when I got to that point that one day, like, hold up, you got to take responsibility for your choices. You cannot blame them because you knew what was going on. You was driving the car, you participated. So I had to take responsibility for what I condoned and what I signed up for. So I'm not just not going to blame them. I'm going to take responsibility. And that was one of the reasons why it's okay. I'm going to take it to the chin. It is what it is. But I'm going to tell you something. That moment that I realized that I am no longer going to sacrifice my friendship or familyship for individuals anymore because it's about my kids. Because when I go and I can't get a job, that's my kids' livelihood. As an individual, we're going to survive. We're going to make it do what it do. But when you tugging kids with you, it's like, hold up. Yeah. So, and it's real. And so all of you that's out there, the ones that's in a halfway house or that's doing time in the jails and you on your way out their door, listen, and you got kids, even if you don't got kids and you just got yourself, stop doing the returning cycle. Stop being 7-Eleven and Wawa and going back and giving time. It's not worth it. Because at the end of the day, you really got to look at it from a entrepreneur's perspective. Because now that I'm an entrepreneur, when I go to get insurance for my business, it asks these questions. Will you hire fellas? Will you hire misdemeanors? And if you say yes, your insurance will inflate. It goes up, right? Now, it's some things that you could do, and the government does offer you a compensation, you know what I'm saying, when it comes to hiring individuals that's a felon or, had misdemeanors. So, but, as an employee, we don't look at that. We're just like, we need a job, we need a job, we need a job, we need a job. But you got to think about that. Don't keep adding to your situation. People going to tell you no, but it's your job to tell yourself yes. And once you learn that part to tell yourself yes, you're going to be okay, because that's what I had to do. The more they told me no, the more I kept going. I kept going, kept going, kept going. And this is how I got to where I'm at. And I ended up getting the job. Now, like I said, I am an entrepreneur, right? And that's even challenging. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is, because everything great doesn't come that easy all the time. So it's worth the work, But that's my story. And like I said, for women that's out there, you got kids and you out there in them streets, listen, honey, choose your children over your friends and your circumstances.
That's the I think that's the part most overlooked as a woman in this situation, right? Like you said, it's more about whereas a woman with children, it becomes more about the children than it is yourself
Uh-huh.
because you put yourself in a tough bind and in a hard situation where it becomes hard to take care of your children. Unlike most us guys, and be honest, we do the dumb things we do. We catch charges in and out, and we don't have to worry about where our kids going while we're in jail, or we don't have to worry about where our kids going while we going to do. Unlike a woman, she's that half responsible woman. If she's halfway responsible, she has her kids. She has to worry about, I don't did what I did. I got to do these next 10 weekends. What am I going to do with my kids for the next 10 weekends?
Because I had back in I think it was 2010, and it was so crazy, but I just felt like it was just God, right? Because I don't know, I just started growing over time mentally. But when they gave me 6 months, you got to do 6 months. We're going to suspend 4, and you got to serve 2 months at the county jail, right? And so I'm like, for what? When I went to go to intake and they were asking me what was your charge, what you in here for, even though, they want to know the story. When I tell you, everybody that I talked to on my way back to the pod said, I can't believe that they gave you this much time for your background. You qualify for work release, you qualify for the monitor. And I was like, they gave me the 6, but at that moment, I didn't get mad. I didn't get angry. Then I had a choice where I could have done my time. I think started the time, I want to say the end of March, right? And so we were in February. And so my birthday was coming up. And, I'm young, man. I'm like, oh, man. Right? And so when I calculated, I was like, man, but then when I calculated, I was like, nah, If you go today, you'll be out for your daughter's birthday. Forget everything else. It ain't about you because you already leaving them and you already got to go tell them that you're going to be gone. So I just thank God that I was able to have a friend come to my house, take care of my kids, and have enough money to pay my rent and take care of groceries, everything, the whole 9 yards, daycare, everything for my kids the time that I was gone, right? I got to that jail, met this lady, and the lady said, you qualify for work release. I'm going to see what I'm going to do about work release. So I was like, okay. But yeah, I had to tell my job. I told my job that I had to go and take care of my grandmother, right? I didn't tell her I was going to jail. So I said I had to go take care of my grandmother. So when they was like, well, you got a job? And I'm like, yeah, this is what I do. I work for Prestige Healthcare Services, right? And so when I had to call her back and say, well, this is what happened. But it goes to show you, this is why you don't lie, right? Because I turned around and had to go tell her, like, listen, this is what happened. But when I broke it down to her, she understood. She was like, look, I like you. You've always been punctual. You're one of my best workers, my best employee. Let me know what I need to do.
And thinking about that now, you think that maybe if you'd have told her the truth from the beginning, she might even went to court with you, talked to the judge, and you might not even did no time.
I wasn't that kind of setup.
You don't think so?
Because I'm telling you, they wasn't offering. I asked the lawyer about work release. They wasn't offering it. But when I got to the back, the lady was talking to me about it. So then when I finally get to the pod, right, I got my celly. We in there talking. And so she was like, man, I've been in here for 4 months and I signed up for work release the second week and I'm still waiting. And I was like, do what? Right? So that just hurt me, right? Because I'm like, what? You've been in here for 4 months and you supposed to be getting this work. So she was telling me about the work release program or whatever. So I was like, well, the lady just was telling me about it. But if it take that long, I'd be long gone. Do you know the 6th day The 7th day that I was in there, Webster, pack up. So she like, where you going? I'm like, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know. I ain't do nothing. And when I packed my stuff, they was like, you going to work release. They was like, so it wasn't, to me, it wasn't nothing. And that had to be God to me. So then when I get over to work release, they were asking me, you know, who recommended you, who signed you up? Because I guess they wanted to know about the council or whatever. When I said the lady's name, nobody knew the lady's name. They did. Nobody, I promise you, nobody knew the lady's name. When I described her, they was like, we don't know that person. I lie to you not. Tripped me out. Then I was able to work. I was able to work night shift overnight. So technically, I never spent the night at the jail after the 7th day. I spent my days there, but I ain't spent no nights there. But that had to be with me coming to terms and taking responsibility and understanding, like, you got to cut this out. You got to stop this shenanigans. You got to stop what you're doing. Listen, get it together. And from that moment, and I met some wonderful women while I was in there, and it was just like, wow. And I just, it's like, I'm not doing it no more. And then I ended up doing it again. But years later. But
here I was thinking this is the beginning of the good part of the story.
But you know, but the second time though, that what happened with me, it wasn't for me. Right. In which, you know, I told you about the story. And it, you know, and it was just
okay, yeah, I know it now. Gotcha.
Right. So you know, and I ended up catching a felony. You know, and when I tell you that hurt, like that F hurts. But I tell you what, I refuse to let that F control my life. I refuse to let that felony dictate and determine where I'm going moving forward. And you definitely not going to hold me back. You know, what's done is done. I can't do nothing about it. Only thing I can do is show you and tell you that I am who I'm supposed to be, and I am walking different, and I'm going to do different. You know, and that's why when I run across people and, you know, and they talk about people, I like to hold people by their hands. You know, and this is why that transitional house that we're doing, this is why it's so dear to me, because I know the struggles of it. You know, and everybody don't have a voice to go in there and tell their story and be straight up. You know what I'm saying? So I want to be that voice, that advocate for them, so we can help them and hold them by the hand.
Not everybody feels comfortable telling these stories.
Right? They don't. They don't.
Some people, it takes them a while. Whether they're ashamed or they're worried about being judged or whatever the case may be, so they keep it bottled in. I know. I ain't gonna say I've never been ashamed of my story, but I've never been one to volunteer the information either. So
yeah. Now for me, I didn't volunteer, but to the ones that I had to volunteer to. Now, but I'm gonna tell you this though. I had people that tried to volunteer my background to people, right? But it's like, you cannot, let me tell you something, honey. Can't nobody tell your story better than you. You understand? That's why I am the way that I am. Can't nobody come to you right today and tell you, did you know this about Rachel? You actually be able to say, I sure did. And whatever they plan on, if it's a lie, then it's like, no, I didn't know. You understand what I'm saying? Can't nobody tell, this is why you tell your story, and this is why you do what you do. And it's not about being proud. It's about, okay, I did it. It's done. It's over with. This is who I am. You're going to take it. You're going to leave it.
That's
it.
Something I did. So big.
That's it. That's it. You know, walking your truth, walking your story. Your life is your life. Your walk is your walk. With that moment that you have that mind over matter, that's when you can say, I didn't overcame. So now we're going to go to you, Mr. Pope.
I could have had a whole segment to myself, but I'm going to keep it short.
we're going to go to you.
And I say that because, like I said, I've never been one to just, hey, let me tell you my story. So this is kind of like I don't want to say coming out like this, you know what I mean? But this is like the first time I've kind of publicly
talked about it.
And there's been situations where I try to talk to younger guys that I know that's going through things, and I kind of try to give them a little insight, a little encouragement. But I've never broken down and told them. I've told you my story on plenty of drunk nights, right?
Right, but you remember? Can I say something before you start?
Go.
Y'all,
I know what you're about to say.
Y'all want to know something funny?
I knew what you were about to tell them. Go ahead.
Y'all want to know something funny? When we first met, kind of in the beginning, and so we went out on a date, and so he was like, "I got something I want to tell you," right? So I'm like, "Oh my God, what you got to tell me?" So he was like, "Well, you know," and I'm like, "What is it? You rape somebody? You beat people? What you do?" And he was like, "Nah. I'm a felon." You know, and I'm like, "Okay, what else?" Now, let me ask you this: what did you do though? So when he told me what he did, right, I was like, "Shit!" And then I said to myself, "Ladies," I said to myself, "Shit, welcome to the family." Right? And even at that time, I didn't even share with you, you know, my history. So I asked him, I said, "Well, what made you tell me that and you felt that it was a need?" And you know what he told me? You remember what you told me? Because you have told women about your background and then they just didn't want to deal.
Yeah, there's been situations like that, and going back to what we talked about from the beginning, just being honest and upfront. You know, I didn't want us to progress, and we get to a point where something comes out and we can't do such X, Y, and Z because you find out
like when we try to go bowling
about my past. You know, I didn't want it to come out like that. So here it is, straight from me. Like you just finished saying, can't nobody tell my story but me. So in my story, oh man, I was young, um, and without going into great details, right? I had just recently gotten out of the military on a medical discharge and went back to hood and started doing hood things again, hanging out with the crew, and one thing led to another, and you know, charge and X, Y, and Z. You know, I did some prison time because of it, and during that time, it gave me a lot of time to sit and think about how did I get here? What do I do not to be here again? So I say that, but within 2 months of me being released, I caught another charge. So that was kind of like a wake up call. Like, you know, you've been home 2 months and look like you might be going back, buddy. So, and I got to think about some guys that I ran into while I was incarcerated, what we call institutionalized. And I'm thinking like, damn, is that what it comes to? Like, I'm about to spend the rest of my life in and out of prison doing stupid stuff. So I just kind of just talk to myself and say, you know, if I get out of this one, I'm done. And it was stupid because within less than a week of me being released the first time, I got a job. And that's almost unheard of. And it was a decent job working for a company that make train burns. I had a family member that was already working there that referred me. You know, they called me in for the interview, let me talk. I told them about myself. And the guy was like, "We'll give you a chance." And I'm grateful for that. But I just still found myself in the wrong places at the wrong times. So fast forward, um, that new charge got dropped on some technical stuff. Thank God. And so, like I said, at that point, I say, you know, it's time for me to start doing something a little different atmosphere. Something has to change. And then this new company was coming into the area, and people was talking about how much money we're making, whatever. And you know, they do extensive drug tests and all that. So at that point, of course, even though I just got released and I came home, I was still smoking weed and doing stupid stuff. But then I hear about this job with this extensive drug test. So I said, just like that, I said, you know what? No more. I'm done. Long story short, fast forward, I got the job. It wasn't easy. Um, First interview, they turned me down. But you know, I called him. I called their human resources department every day for a week until the lady got tired of me calling. And she said, you know what? I got somebody. I'm gonna let you talk to her, and we'll see if he give you a chance, which he did. And I've been at this job for almost 23 years now. I've had a lot of great opportunities at this job. I've started from the bottom, worked my way up. You know, people, they allow me to show who I am and not what I did, thankfully. But
So my question to you is, as a man, because at the time you did have kids, you have a daughter, right?
yes,
Well, you had multiple kids at the time, right?
you had to put it like that.
Reality,
That's a different segment. Go ahead.
right? So, anyways, at that time of your life, you had multiple kids, right? And so when you kept getting turned down as a man, what did that do for you? Like, what did it like? How did it make you feel to keep hearing no, 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 no? And like, did you slip a little bit, but not all the way back, but then kind of like pulled you and tugged you? Like, what made you, what click, and what tools did you use to keep going forward versus it being at a standstill or even going back?
From a job perspective, from work?
Yes.
Well,
From being denied because you were a felon.
let's see, that's what I'm saying. I guess I was one of the few lucky ones. The first job I applied for when I came home, I got it.
Okay.
When I applied for this other job that I work now, when I applied there, like I said, I had the interview. They said no, okay, but I was persistent um, with the calling the HR director, head of HR, you know, and I just kept telling them, look, I just want to change. I just want to change. I know this is on my record. I know how some may feel, but I don't want this to define me.
Right.
This is not who I am. This is a bad, and I've never called it a mistake, because if you know the whole story, there's a reason, whatever. But I never looked at it as a mistake. If anything, I would say it was a lapse in judgment. Uh, and that's just how I broke it down to. You know, sometimes they look at you funny when you go in there and say, "Yeah, I made a mistake," and but no. To this day, anybody asks me if I regret it? No, because of the whole situation. No, I don't regret it. It was a predicament I was put in. I did what I thought I needed to do. It turned out the way it did. I learned from it, because in all honesty, had that not came about at the rate I was going at that time, it could have turned out a whole lot worse. I was doing a lot worse things, and it was
the time for you to sit down.
Yeah, I was a monster to say the least at that time.
Okay. So during that time, okay, so now that you have your job, right? Because obtaining a job is just the beginning.
Right.
To be honest.
It is.
Now it's okay, now I got the job. There's no more excuses. So what is it that I got to do next? So as a man, what was your next task to do to complete?
I mean, you can't make up for lost time, but one of the main things I kind of focused on, or what drove me, was my children at the time, making sure, trying to make up for lost time, even though I know I couldn't. So good or bad, of course, once I was able, they got everything they want, and they, like all my children, spoiled rotten. But
did you, like, were you that parent that made promises? Like when I come home, I'm gonna do that, because I find that a lot of individuals, that's incarcerated, and really it's what they want to do. And when you think about it, you in time out, right? So you kind of like transitioning your mind before your body to a degree.
No, I,
And
I didn't.
you didn't make promises. You just basically, but I'm sure you made did you make a promise to yourself?
Not to go back,
Right.
but as I said, I almost broke that promise to myself.
Right.
But it was. I guess I did things a little different. When things started, when it all came about, the charges, the court dates, and all that, the sentencing. At that point, I kind of cut myself off from the world, as some may say. When I knew I was going, it was just about me just having fun. And, I didn't go in there with no girlfriend left behind. And, I had kids, but my kids' mothers, we weren't together. And I made it clear that, I'm going to be gone for several years. You do you. That's the end of it. It is what it is. Because before that, the short time when I first got arrested and being in a cell, I watched these dudes in there sit on the phone at night crying and why you doing this to me? And I said, no, no, sir. That ain't in me. That ain't me in me. And so, that was one of the first things I did. The person I was in a relationship with at the time, which honestly was Jakaya's mother when all this came about. So it was like, we done just out of the blue. We done. No legit reason, no nothing. I just don't want to be in a relationship no more. Because I knew, because honestly at the time, they was talking about 20 years for me. Nah. I got lucky, but thinking I'm gonna be gone for the next 15 to 20 years, I didn't want no ties to the street. I wasn't even the type that would call on a regular basis. I barely even wrote anybody. Some of my friends or whatever, I would write now and then. Maybe on a Sunday. Every now and then I call my mom, call a couple other people.
So you just basically, you just did your time.
That's
and basically you wasn't focused on the outside. You was focused on surviving on the inside.
I was focused on the inside.
Yeah, and I think
because regardless what's going on out there, I knew there was nothing I can do.
Exactly, and I think I don't know. It's like I guess a cliche kind of when you are incarcerated and you have the wife or the girlfriend on the outside, and then you're on the inside, and then you're trying to keep up. What's she doing? Where's she going? But then the wife is trying to keep up too. Make sure you don't get mad. Don't want to stress him out. It's kind of like two people really come at a stop to a degree.
It just, I ain't gonna say it never works, but watching some of the dudes I don't seem big. Supposed to be the toughest guy around, sitting in his cell.
But you know what I don't get with that though, because I have seen it too. I have seen and heard. I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna do that. Right. But then as soon as you hit the bricks, you out. You're doing it. Yeah. You're doing everything that you say that you're not going to do it. It's killing time.
Because you in there and you thinking kind of, what can I say to her to make her hold on to me? What can I say to her?
So that's really like a mind game.
That's all it is. And I ain't got time for that. When I say not, the only part of me during that time that I really regret is I lost 3 of the most important people in my life. And I couldn't even go to the funeral. I couldn't even see him. And the first one was my grandfather. And everybody knows me, knows how I feel about my grandfather. He was more like my father. And I was actually still at the city jail when he passed. And my family wouldn't let me come to the funeral. And that hurt me the most. my start was when I get out of here, I'm slapping the shit out of everybody. Oh yeah, I was hot. They better be glad it was.
And why was you locked up again? Smacking the shit out of somebody.
I did more than slap the shit out of somebody. But I couldn't believe it. But luckily for me, one of the head guys at the jail down there, my grandfather worked for the city for like forever. So everybody that ever worked for the city of Petersburg knew my grandfather during that time. So one of the head guys that ran the jail, when he found out I was my grandfather, he was like, look, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get some guys. I'm going to take you to the funeral home so you can see him. So he took it upon himself to set up some people to take me down there to the funeral home so I can at least see the body. So I was grateful for that. And then probably 6 months later, my grandmother passed, but I was already in the system. My mother comes to visit me just a random visit. It wasn't even visitation day. And I get a call, I got a visitor, and I'm like, okay. Didn't think nothing of it. Mother sitting there and she telling me, and, that hurt because my grandmother was another one. I always been pretty close to my grandparents, real close, but throughout the issues with my parents themselves, my grandparents always made sure I was straight. And then the third person was, like, I would say probably one of my favorite uncles ever. He died of cancer like mid-30s. He wasn't too much older than me. He was probably 10 years or so older than me. So he was probably mid to early 30s, and he died of cancer. So, and that hurt because I didn't even find out about that until like a year after it happened. I called my other grandmother, throughout the time, nobody never told me. And then one day she slipped up and told me. She was like, Larry's truck is still here. We're not going to do nothing with it. When you come home, you can have Larry's truck to get you going. And I'm like, what do you mean? And that's when she was like, I can hear the silence like, oh shit. Because they know how I felt about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that was one of the things. My family, it almost like they tried to hold things from me as if they were protecting me while I'm in there. Because they know if I probably would have spazzed out at one point. But luckily by then, I was in a good head place. When my uncle passed, I was within my last year coming home. So, I was good. But that's the only thing that hurt me about that. Besides being away from my kids, losing those important people to me. So, and I think a lot of guys, a lot of people that's been incarcerated, they can probably relate to that.
So for the men, so I kind of want to touch on it from both ends because we will be live streaming in Department of Corrections, right? And so some of the ones that's about to exit. What would be your advice to those individuals that's about to exit from those walls and go through a transitional phase of being back out into our society? What is it that you can enlighten them on or just give them something to hold on to from the man's perspective of things?
Surround yourself with positive people. Surround yourself with people that want to see you do good. People that are willing to go that extra mile to help you get the information you need to move in the right direction. And you touched on one thing that you did as far as for the job. You wrote on the application discussing interviews. Luckily for me, before I was released, I had like a counselor or whatever, and that was one of the things the counselor told me. When you go to apply for these jobs, just write in there, we'll discuss an interview. And that seemed to help me because it gave me the opportunity for whoever I was applying for to meet me, the person, and not
the story,
the piece of paper, the red flag. Because
you can have companies that will hire individuals with background, whether it's a misdemeanor or a felon, right? Now, you got to remember, if the company says that they hire an individual with your background record, right? And you get the human resources and they tell you that we can't hire you because of your background, it is not their job. It is your job to go beyond that person, because you don't know who that could be, really, because really it's that person's perception. It's that individual that feel like they don't want you working there. It's not the company that don't want you working there, because if it was, it wouldn't even have that up there saying that you could go here and obtain a job. It's all about the person as the human resources. So it's your job to stand up and have a voice for you.
Yep.
And just because James might tell you, no, I'm not going to give you the job. Okay, well, let me see who else I could talk to, because it's worth it. It's because you do have individuals, like, you got to keep pushing for you, not your kids, not your wife, but for you. As long as you are in a headspace where you want to do what's best for you, you're going to be able to outsource that energy to your wife, to your kids, to your mother, to your brother, to your best friend that you hold dear to your heart and you don't want to disappoint. But first, you got to not want to disappoint yourself. Then that will lead you to not disappointing everybody else. And you can't come home expecting to take care of everybody else. You got to take care of you first.
Big mistake.
You got to take care of you first, straight up. And also, nobody owes you anything. Nobody. And you cannot want somebody to do more for you than you doing for yourself. Yes, your mama, your brother, your homeboy, homegirl, wife, or whatever, they'll probably, in a lot of cases, they'll make sure, the individual straight. They got clothes, they got this, they got that. But at what point you're going to make sure yourself straight? You got to take care of you. You got to make sure you're straight. And don't be afraid to tell your story. And I think some people don't want to tell their story because it takes them back into a dark place. It ain't got nothing to do with embarrassment. They just not healed. And they feel like it's a dark place for them. But I'm going to say this to y'all. Sometimes you got to tell your story of the dark place so you can overcome it. And it won't be a dark cloud over you.
And it's not just about telling your story. It's who you telling your story to.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying be proudful or whatever, but I'm just saying.
I mean, you speak on going back to that dark place. Who I would say this to anyone that's on the way out, looking to come out, just got out. One thing I did before I even came home, and when I knew it was almost time to come home, I would sit there probably for hours at a time, and I would imagine myself being successful in some way, shape, or form. Before I came home, I had started to develop electrical trade. So I just, I'm a daydreamer. That's just what I do sometimes to relax. I just imagine different scenarios, just different situations. And I used to imagine myself being home with a good electrical job, a nice house, and all this stuff. I would do that. That was one of the things that kind of got me back, honestly, because I would just zone out, and you couldn't tell me that's where I was. That's how deep into it I would get. And even though I'm not doing electrical work per se, but I feel like that
helped you
that prepared me.
Yeah.
That pushed me.
You was determined to live what you imagined.
The closer I got, the more I kept working at it. So imagine yourself being successful. Imagine yourself coming home, getting a good job, taking care of your kids or your wife, whatever the case may be, going back to school, picking up a trade. Imagine, it starts right here.
Yep. And another thing, too, you're gonna lose some people along the way.
And don't be afraid to.
As you grow and overcome and you step away from the old you, per se, right? The old you that's gonna cost you your freedom in your life. As you step away from that person, you're gonna lose some individuals because they're not gonna be able to identify who you are. And it's okay. Because sometimes you got to lose some of them people so you can gain the people that you need to help you on your way, which you imagine and what you pictured and where you really want to be.
Been there, done that.
You know,
been
so
there, done that. One of my closest, I mean, my road dog. You know, I mean, we've done. I mean, we've done a lot together. And when I got to that point where I saw myself moving forward, doing better, I knew not necessarily had to cut ties, but I knew I had to minimize our interactions because he and not several of them were still doing the things that kind of led me down that wrong road. And honestly, I could be around, I can hang out with them, they doing what they do, and I was cool. But I just knew
eventually,
I knew at some point, or there was a possibility that one day I was gonna revert back to those old ways because I'm around it.
yeah,
Or
give in to
B,
temptation.
B, something was gonna happen because of the mind frame they was in, and me being there, I'm gonna be caught up in the situation. Either way, I didn't want that. And I actually had a talk. I mean, it wasn't just I'm done with y'all. I ain't, I had to let them know straight up, I'm falling back, I'm working, whatever the case may be. It's all love. I see y'all on different levels. And I just had to pick and choose when I
hung out with them.
I honestly tried to bring them over that hump too, instead of going to the hood, hanging out at the court or whatever. Hey man, meet me up at such and such place. Let's get a drink. Sit down at the bar, talk, chop it up. Well, and when they be like, well, I'm gonna head back to all right, well, I'm gonna head home. It was just that simple. I still maintain that love. And they understood it over time. At first, it was rough at first. But as time went on, they understood what I was doing. And it was points they even came to me and told me, I look up to you because you changed, blah, blah, blah. I'm trying, and all I can do is encourage them to keep trying. And I tell them, I'm always here, call me, whatever you need. It worked for some, it didn't for others. But my main focus was to make sure I didn't fall back into that hole.
Right. And that is the most important, is protecting you. And it's okay. And two, and now I know it's hard for men versus than women, because sometimes with us women, we could be more vocal and our girlfriends will understand, right? Or our cousins or whomever, right? When it comes to the female piece, they will understand. But then you got some that say, well, she thinks she too good, or she think this and she got this and got that. Well, she is different, and it's okay that they think that, and at the same time, does that individual really think that they're too good, or do you really think that they're too good to be around you now because they have elevated and you are still in the same spot? And then you got to be mindful too. If you've been gone for 5 years and you come back and an individual still in the same spot doing the same thing, if not worse, why would you want to be back there anyway? And you can't bring somebody with you until you done already made it, honey. And then when you go to do that, it just needs to be a conversation. Would you like to come? Would you like to do this and like to do that? Don't drag them, because I'm telling you, it will drag you back into a situation. So you really, it's okay to outgrow people, and it's okay to love you and take care of you and do what's best for you. And like I said during my story, what's most important for the young ladies that's about to come out to get kids? Your friends or your kids? What's more important? Your boyfriend that's going to drag you down, that's going to have you doing something crazy, doing the same thing, or your kids? Because at the end of the day, when you're doing time, who you want? Your kids. You want your kids to talk to you. You want your kids to respect you. You want your kids to write you. But then when you had all the freedom in the world, you didn't do none of that with your kids because you was busy with everybody else.
And be careful. You got them kids at a certain age. They know that. They pick up on that. And that's what they're going to tell you. You won't worry about us when you was X, Y, and Z. But before we end, on the wrap up, I just want to reiterate for those that may need help, that's in the transitioning process, not sure which way to turn, looking for words of encouragement. Like I said, start within your mind, visualize, see yourself in a successful place, and don't let nobody kill that dream. You see yourself in that successful place. You sit down, you write out some goals. Start with what type of skill sets you have. What can I do? I can swing a hammer. Swinging a hammer is a skill set. I don't care what you say. We all got, most of us all have some type of computer skills. You'd be surprised. Figure out your skill sets. Figure out what it is that you want to do, what you like to do, what you would like to learn to do. Put all this stuff down on paper, brainstorm, and then find somebody that's willing to help you
convert that to positive.
Bring it out. Make these things come forth. Whether it's a family member, if you're listening, reach out to us, of course. Can we talk? That's what we do. That's what we're here for. But, find a family member, someone that genuinely cares for you or cares about your situation, that wants to see you stay on the right side. Talk to them. Tell them what you're thinking. Don't be afraid to open up. We hold a lot of things inside, and it doesn't help. Open up. Find someone you can open up to. Give them your thoughts. Ask for help. You have to be willing to ask for help. So, can't do it all on your own. I don't care who you are. At some point in time, you need help.
Yeah, and it's okay to ask for it and be mindful who you getting your help from. Get with somebody that's going to help you and push you and hold you accountable. And don't get upset when they start holding you accountable. When somebody want to hold you accountable and they pushing you to be greater, they care about you. They care about your future. They believe in you. They see your vision and your dream that you have discussed with them. And that's why they're pushing you to it, because they know that you can do it. But can't nobody do it but you. For all of you that's on today, we have, our nonprofit organization. If, we are in need of monetary donations at the moment. And so you can donate. We have a GoFundMe, which has been put in the link below throughout the podcast. And then we also have Cash App, but you can also visit our nonprofit organization website at canwetalklife.org. If you need life coaching services for relationship, family mediation, self-esteem, re-entry back into society, you can also, visit our website at canwetalkrawwisdom.com. You can get with me, you can get with Real. We are here to help you elevate, and we are here. And, our slogan is, we are here to inform. We're here to inspire, inform, and impact, all individuals, women and men. So thank you all for joining us. Be a friend, tell a friend. For you all that haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, please go over to the YouTube channel, put in Raw Wisdom, and hit subscribe. Click the button, hit the bell, the drill. Yes, do that. And we'll see y'all next week. And next week, it will be Real and Carlos that will be on, and Rayvon. They'll be on talking with, Carlos, another man that has achieved greatness after incarceration. And so where we're at today, we are business owners. We are career driven. We are married. We have, a home that we own. We have vehicles that we own. And we could have not done all of this without being determined to be better than what we used to be. We decided to move forward, and none of this happened overnight. Trust me, this happened, over time, and we had some setbacks, and we still go through setbacks, but we just know that we're not going to go backwards. we're not going to resort. We got other resources because we wasn't afraid to raise our hand, to hold our hand out, to say, listen, I need some help. I need somebody to talk to. Who can help me do this? Who can help me do that? And we wanted it for ourselves before we wanted it for anybody. So we advise you to be the same way. And again, you can contact us at canwetalkrawwisdom.com if you want to donate to the nonprofit organization. That is canwetalklife.org. And the monetary donations we are a 501c3, so it is a tax exempt. For those of you that prefer to donate to an organization that's a tax exempt, we are that. And this will help us help those individuals that's transitioning from Department of Corrections back out to our communities. Y'all have a great night on purpose. We appreciate you all. Love you guys. Peace.